uh, hear this again, Mr. Johnson. And we can also send it out to those who may not been able to join us this morning. Let me go ahead and start the party. Again, we are government procurement innovators, your solutions to federal contracting. Right now, and I'm not sure how much right now, and this is really playing into anything at this point based on what's going on in the courts. But based back in 2022, this administration issued an executive order to try to increase equity and level the playing field for small, underserved business owners. And he was doing this through this executive order by increasing the goals that these agencies have to award to small disadvantaged businesses. And we'll go into more depth about what small disadvantaged businesses include. And making sure that now they're going to somewhat even the playing field. I always like to open up with my background. I'm originally from Asheville, North Carolina. After college, I went to Washington, D.C., and my first job was with a company that was a part of the 8A program. Mr. Johnson, have you ever heard of the 8A program?
I have not.
We're going to go into more depth about that program. That's a program that's to my heart.
Okay.
I ended up starting out as an event planner with a company that was a part of this program. I ended up attaching myself to one contract that was a part of this program. And every 3 years, that contract had to go to a new business owner that was a part of that program. So every 3 years, I went to a new 8A company, whereas ended up going through 6 8A companies before starting my own business in 1996. First year in business, I received my first $1 million contract. Second year, I applied into the program, 8A program, won my second $3 million contract, and continued to grow the business pretty quickly, where I had almost $15 million in contracts. And that's where my challenge began, because I had no clue what I was doing. The government was awarding me millions of dollars of contracts, and I could not even read a profit and loss statement. I had two business partners, one that we just called crazy, who felt like he could run all his personal expenses through the business. After receiving receiving a credit card statement with the $3,000 pinstripe suit with his initials going down the pinstripe, I ended up terminating him. He then threatens my assistant. She was auditing his account. I terminate him. He then conspired with two employees to sue me and the other partner for sexual harassment. After 2 years of attorney fees, $125,000 in attorney fees, $100,000 to buy them out, I had no more operating cash. And that's what really pushed me to my passion. I ended up closing the business in 2005 and volunteered as a score counselor, because I realized no one was training our community on how to manage a business on that level. A score counselor is a resource partner of SBA that provides mentorship to small businesses. After 2 years as a score counselor, ran out of money, applied for a position with the Small Business Administration. I was hired in 2008 in the Philadelphia district office. And that was the office that actually processed all of the 8A applications. My job was to service the businesses once they got into the program. After 4 years there, relocated here to Atlanta. And in 2015, I left the government. But while I was there, they required that we become certified as a contract specialist. And for me, that was the missing piece, meaning I'd run a business for almost 10 years. I worked inside of SBA and understood SBA's programs, but I wasn't quite sure how the agencies came together to put an opportunity out there for vendors to compete on. So by becoming certified as a contract specialist, that gave me the full picture. I trained more than 10,000 businesses on marketing to the federal government, and I'm going to have to update my numbers where it says I assisted small businesses to win over 200 million to 1 billion in contract across various agencies. Next week, we will be interviewing one of our clients who won a $1 billion contract in the spring of this year, and she's going to share her journey. I've also self-published a book called That's Crazy, Recognize Crazy and Run. And the names have been changed to protect the innocent. It kind of documents what I went through in that first business. So when small businesses are trying to enter into this space, what I realized working at SBA and working with many of their resource partners, everything was information based, meaning I would have a workshop, people will walk away, great information, but once they left the workshop, they weren't quite sure what to do with the information. And it was the same thing that I found working with government agencies. No one understood SBA's rules and regulations and not quite sure how to connect the dots. I would consistently say, unless you worked on the inside of SBA, no one understands their rules and regulations, and they're a key factor in this space. The challenge for small businesses entering in this space is understanding government language, understanding the government's process, understanding what type of certifications am I qualified for. Once I determine that, well, what type of documents will I need to apply for these certifications? Also understanding these agencies are not connected. Everyone operates in a silo, and none of these websites are connected. That's why it's so confusing for small businesses entering into this space. So based on the program and based on creating GPI, it was primarily based on my lessons learned. Meaning, most people in this space will start a business, or in general, small businesses will start a business on their skill set. When I won that first $1 million contract, I was no longer running it based on my skill set. I now had employees that I had to hire. And my mentor pulled me aside and asked me, why are you pigeonholing yourself? And when he said that, it made sense based on those 6 companies that I'd gone through and looking at their business model. At that stage, I changed my business model from an event planning company to a management consulting company. And I created divisions. I created an administrative division, an IT division, publication division, and a database division. And once I created those divisions, I started getting contracts in those areas, understanding it has nothing to do with my skill set. The government is looking for you to provide a team of subject matter experts that are qualified to perform on that contract. Your goal is to manage the business, not work in the business. So if you're working in the business, you're not able to grow your business. So in our program and under the first module, we teach you how to create a business model that's going to be sustainable in this space. The second component in federal contracting is understanding that collaboration is key. SBA's programs and the government agencies programs, contracts, primarily require that you partner or team with others. No one is teaching us how to work together. So in the second module of the program, Government Ready, we put you onto teams and you are required to learn how to work together in submitting a deliverable. That's in the government's language, the end task. Third, you must have the infrastructure. Infrastructure meaning you need to understand your accounting, you need to understand your HR, making sure that you can protect your business, understand all aspects of your business. So when you look at the federal government, the government operates on a fiscal year, meaning their fiscal year starts October 1st and goes through September 30th. Mr. Johnson, have you been paying attention to the news? And do you have any understanding what's going on right now within your government?
Are they planning to shut down?
Yes. Yes. And so what that means is until they pass a full budget, and right now they're operating on what they call a limited budget, but also known as continuing resolution. They have not been fully funded. Until that budget is passed, most agencies are sitting around twirling their thumbs. Would you agree with that, Ms. Johnson? And Ms. Lumpkin, Kimberly. I'm not sure if she's still online.
I am online. Can't
Yeah.
yeah. Mute. That's exactly what we doing. We waiting to see what's gonna happen.
So you go through this cycle every year. And so what I found for small business, they're going to eventually at some point pass the budget. They have to pass the budget. And the budget, the federal government really can't operate without contractors. So for you as a small business, the best time to market to these agencies, I would say, would between October and February. Why they don't have their full budget, because once they receive their budget and their funding, they're trying to get rid of all of the money by the end of September. So your goal is to begin to build those relationships during the period where they're not fully funded. Does that make sense, Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Okay. Why federal contracts? Every year, the federal government SBA will set goals for federal agencies. 23% of contracts have to be set aside for small businesses, 5% for women-owned, 5% for small disadvantaged businesses or participants in the 8A program, 3% if you're service disabled, and 3% for Hub Zone. SBA keeps a scorecard on how these agencies fared in achieving these goals. They haven't updated their last fiscal year and how the agencies fared in achieving these goals. But in 2020, you can see the amount of dollars that were set aside and awarded in each of these programs. So some of the strategy we may teach in the program is perhaps targeting agencies that did not meet their goals. If you're a woman-owned business, you can see they fell short. Identify which agency did not award enough contracts under that program. Whatever certification I don't have, I'm going to make sure I have a partner with that certification. That's how we begin to collaborate and come together. So, Mr. Johnson, you are just, you may not qualify for women-owned, but your aunt has a woman-owned business. So this is how you all begin to collaborate. So if you see an opportunity that's set aside for woman-owned, then you all can come together and go after that opportunity. Does that make sense to you? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
In this program, I wanted to demonstrate the amount of dollars that was awarded by these agencies just under this 8A program. You can see it's a whole lot of dollars awarded, as well as what industries. You said your background was in the construction industry, so you can see the amount of dollars that were awarded in the construction industry. But I tend to tell businesses in that industry that industry is more of a challenge. It's a challenge because they require that you have bonding, and it's project driven. When you're running a business, you don't want to have to constantly chase projects. Whereas on the service side, you can have long-term contracts and income coming in every month. You can use the same skill sets that you're using in the construction side for the service side, because once that building is built, it needs to be serviced, needs janitorial, needs landscaping, and you know those will be longer term contracts. The government buys everything. In this report, it talks about a report from the Office of Inspector General. And when I look at this report, because I know this program in Pacific is geared toward the Black community. They're telling you in 2021, and I'm sure has not improved anymore 2 years later, that this is the total number of businesses that are in this program nationally. I refuse to believe that we don't have more than 4,900 Black-owned businesses in the United States. And I would say half of this 4,900 will probably consist of the Hispanic community, Native Americans, and the Alaska Native corporations. Here, they talk about there was almost $34 billion in contracts awarded to the firms in this program, talking about 11 billion that was in sole source awards. And we'll talk about what sole source means shortly. So based on the executive order, again, they're trying to increase the number of participants, a number of contract awards to 15% by 2025 under this program. And when I was in Washington, D.C., and when I left and went to work in Philadelphia, and then when I relocated here to Atlanta, Georgia, what I realized was people outside of the District, Maryland, Virginia area, DMV, really don't have a clue about government contracts. And that was based on the number of businesses that was in this program. And so I looked at the numbers and I also experienced it servicing those businesses. So what I realized was I had businesses from Washington, D.C. coming here in Georgia winning contracts. They have no competition. What does this chart tell you, Mr. Johnson? Can you read what it's saying or understand what it's saying?
Basically, the contracts that's being awarded, there's more contracts out there to get.
Well, what it's actually saying is, out of the total contracts that were awarded in 1 year, only 30% of those contracts award went to these firms in this program.
Okay.
70% of them were awarded to businesses outside of the state. No competition. And I'm sure it's probably just as bad in Ohio. And we're going to look at the number of businesses in Ohio that's in this program. Your goal is to minimize your competition. So I would tell the businesses in Georgia, well, maybe you want to look in the state next door. In Alabama, they only had 58 firms in this program in the entire state. But those 58 was at least getting 48% of the contract awards, where the other half was coming from outside of the state. So the whole thing is for you to understand, you don't have to be in that state to win a contract. That's the beauty of federal contracting. And in Florida, most of the dollars were going to those that were part of the program in Florida, whereas 37% of it was coming from outside of the state. So when you look at trying to compete in this space, what I realize is most of SBA's resource partners, we actually had a client discuss that yesterday. She was visiting and getting counseling from their resource partners, and their resource partners was telling her to base her marketing materials on her skill set and to stay local and to stay in your state. I'm telling you, there's more competition if you're competing with everybody in your local or state area, whereas on the federal side, I can win the contract anywhere in the world. The government is located all over. And the competition is not as high. So when you look at this number here, it's 96,000 awards that was posted. I have to update this during this period. There's not enough small businesses competing on these contracts. So generally, in this space, you're competing with maybe 2, 3, 5 people at the most. That's why you don't have to pigeonhole yourself. This was an opportunity in New York to replace floors. It's set aside specifically for small businesses. Mr. Johnson, do I need to be in New York? And do I need to understand how to replace floors to go after this contract?
No, you don't. You can hire somebody.
There you go. You're going to find a subcontractor in that area to do the job, and then you're going to put your money on top of it. You're still managing the subcontractor. That makes sense to you.
Sure does.
And then when you look at what they are looking for, right? It's something that you actually do in your own home. So it's not really complicated. It's the same thing, that you would do if you were servicing or looking for a carpet replacement in your home. And it only takes, they're looking at it 2 to 5 days. These are the ones that are in and out. This is where we encourage you to start with the low-hanging fruit. This was one that was for underwriting. This was a 8A set aside. So I just wanted you to get a general idea of the types of contracts that are out there, and for you to understand, as the CEO, you are building a team with the expertise. Do you play basketball, Mr. Johnson, or understand basketball?
I play basketball, I coach basketball.
Okay, so when you look at business, I want you to think of it in that in as a sport. My father wanted me to play basketball. I played all the sports. So when I got into business, to me it was the same thing. So often we want to encourage our children to become get to LeBron, become like LeBron or Stephon. And my thing is, if LeBron is making 200 million, how much is the owner making? And what is the owner's role, Mr. Johnson? What's his goal?
His goal is to make more money off of LeBron.
His goal is to have a dream team of 5 players every year that's going to take him to get his goal, right?
Get to the championship, yes.
That's right.
And do you think he has to know anything about basketball? You think any of those owners, the NFL, they know anything about football or
You can
basketball?
hire somebody to find a talent for him.
There you go.
The coaches.
That's where, no, it's not even the coaches. The coaches are still on the bottom level. You got a general manager, you
No,
got,
I'm saying hire the coaches.
Oh,
My
yeah.
bad. Yeah. Yeah.
so it's understanding your role as the CEO, shifting your mindset. Because the whole system has been designed for us to be laborers. They teach you, you go to college, it's for a skill set. It's not teaching you, if I have a doctor's degree or MD, how to grow a practice. They're teaching you a skill set. So it's shifting our mindset to understand that I don't have to know anything about that contract to win. My job as the CEO is to find the people with the skill sets to work on those projects. HUD, this is another website. The government or each agency every year will post a forecast of what they anticipate spending for that fiscal year. I like HUD's forecast because every month, and you can even go to their website now, you can scan that code, you can see what opportunities they are looking to buy for fiscal year 24. We've just started October 1st for the fiscal year for 2024. I like HUD because they break it down by their divisions and their office. They're telling you what type of contract it will be set aside as. It's giving you a general idea of the volume and when they anticipate that contract coming out, and then how long that contract will be. So what you are able to do before it comes out is to begin the dialogue with those individuals that are responsible for issuing those contracts. So you can see here, Miss Eva, she has contracts ranging anywhere from $25,000 to $50 million. Your goal is to begin the relationship. If it's a new contract, I like because there's no competition. They're just looking for someone to fulfill these requirements. Now, to play in this space, you can self-certify as a small business. This is the database that you self-certify as. Systems for Awards Management, SAM.gov. What we would call it in the government was such a mess because this is your first test of a contracting. If you can get through all the bugs that are in that database without pulling your hair out, then you are an official federal contract. You can self-certify as a small business. I need to update these two programs are now formal certifications. Veteran owned service disabled are now under the formal certification program, meaning you have to submit an application to SBA and be approved into each of those programs. But you can still self-certify as a small business and as a small disadvantaged business. These formal certifications are based on the 8A. The 8A program is a business development program. You're in it for 9 years. This is the only program that I know that is designed to build your business. The Hub Zone program is based on communities, based on where your business is located and where your employees are located. You're able to qualify into that program. Woman-owned is just what it is. That just became a formal certification about 2 years ago. Service disabled just became under SBA's umbrella January of this year. For the 8A program, it's based on two components. You're socially and economically disadvantaged. As I stated earlier, you're in it for 9 years. By being in this program, it allows you to go to any federal agency and they can award contracts up to $4 million with no competition. That's called a sole source contract. Did you hear that, Mr. Johnson? I want to make sure you heard that part
Yes,
of.
sole source contract, yes.
No competition.
I like that.
That's how you're able to grow your business so quickly. That's how I was able to grow my business so quickly, getting those contracts that were sole source. The Hub Zone, as I stated, is based on where your business is located, and as long as 35% of your employees reside in a Hub Zone. They don't have to be in the same area that the business is in, but as long as they're located in a area that's been designated as a Hub Zone. For the 8A program, this was the previous qualifications for the social component. As long as you were a U.S. citizen and a member of any one of these ethnic groups, you automatically met the social component. As of July 2023, there was a suit by this company saying that she felt like she was being discriminated against because she was white and lost a contract to a participant that was a part of this program. So now SBA is requiring you to write a narrative on how you've been discriminated being Black in America. It's just kind of crazy and insulting, really. But these are the rules, and so we have to go ahead and play with the rules. The second component of the program is based on your net worth. As long as your economic net worth does not exceed $850,000, minus any equity in your home and any equity in your business, you can qualify into this program. So SBA is going to look at your tax returns and then at your tax returns to determine whether or not you meet the economic component. The other component to this is based on this justice system. That's what I call the justice system. Those of us who have touched that justice system don't know that they can have an opportunity to come back out and start a business and qualify into this program. This is another way for them to turn their family and their communities around. They just cannot be on parole or probation. Only thing that will be required for them is that they submit a fingerprint card and it goes to FBI. And if you told the truth, then you're able to get qualify into this program. The HUD Zone program, there's no term limits to it. In this program, it applies to business purchases over $3,000. You recertify every year. You also get what they call sole source contracts and competitive contracts in this program as well. The only difference with this program and the 8A program is that in order for an agency to award a contract as a sole source for this program, they have to make sure that there are at least 2 businesses that are qualified to perform on that contract. And that's called the rule of 2. They also use what they call a 10% price evaluation preference in this program. Let's say that contract, you're in this program, you submitted a bid at $535,000. Someone outside of the bid submits their bid, outside of the program submits their bid at $500,000. The government's going to add 10% onto that $500,000 cost, making their cost $550,000, and yours remain the same, making you the winner. To determine whether or not your business is located in the HUD Zone, this is the map that you would key in that information. So if I'm a home-based business, am I qualified to, and I'm the only employee of that business, Mr. Johnson, am I qualified to participate in this program?
You said if you're the only employee?
Yes, and it's a home-based business.
I think so, long as you live within the HUD zone, right?
And make up that 35%.
Yeah.
Because you're now an employee of that business. Okay? And when you key in the address, this is what it will demonstrate, whether or not your location is located in a HUD Zone. I'd say you can go across the street and it may not be in the HUD Zone. The women's program is based on 2 components: economically disadvantaged and just a WOSB. That once you qualify as a ED, it automatically makes you a WOSB. The ED is primarily based like the 8A program. You have to provide tax returns, profit and loss. They're making it based on your economic status. To qualify into this program, you can go to this website, and that's part of the confusion as well. This is one website for this certification. The HUD Zone program is under another website, and the 8A program is under another website for you to apply. It makes no sense to me that you have to go through all these databases under one agency to apply. To qualify for this, you must be small business, you must own a business at least 51%, manage the day-to-day, hold the highest office position, and work full-time during normal working hours. And you can get around that based on your industry. Let's say it's IT. IT does not necessarily have to work from 9 to 5, or janitorial based on that industry. That's where they look at your tax returns to determine whether or not you are working full time. And you also have to provide a copy of your resume. The resume is going to dictate whether or not you're still currently employed by someone else. There's no minimum amount of time that you have to be in business. The Veterans Program, are you a veteran by any chance?
I am not.
Okay. The Veterans Program is now under SBA. I have to update this as well. That just started last year. You're going to grandfather in for a year before SBA will make it an official formal certification. So they're giving veterans a chance for a year to keep the self-certification before you have to submit a formal application. Just like the other programs, they also get the opportunity for sole sources set aside contracts. Again, ownership is 51%. If you have veterans who are permanently or totally disabled, they can have their spouse or appointed caregiver to assist in managing the company. As I stated earlier, their transfer from VA, if you've already qualified in that by the VA, is good for 1 year. Now I'm going to take you guys to, I'm going to take you to some websites before I go into the actual program. Do you have any questions, Mr. Johnson?
Not at the moment, no.
I wanted to give you an example of a company that's I'm calling her my $1 billion baby. This is the one who won the $1 billion contract in the spring. Her background was in real estate, so she could not come into the 8A program under the real estate agent. So just as we train all of our clients, she's now Dawson's Management and Consulting. So she's not pigeonholing herself into one industry. So when you look at the actual services that she's offering, is based on these areas, right? All of her information is located in her marketing materials. So the government can actually come and see when she's marketing them, the services that she's marketing is not based on her skill set as a real estate agent or broker. Okay, it's taking a little bit, but again, you can see the areas that she's out highlighting to the government and demonstrating that she has previous experience in those areas. This is another one of my companies that's graduated from the program. And what you're going to realize by the time you complete our program, everybody is doing the same thing because the government's going to have a need across all agencies for these services. So what we help businesses to do is to, I like to say, get dressed up to go to the prom. It's the perception. You cannot tell what size business this is based on their website. Can you, Mr. Johnson?
I cannot.
Does this make sense to you?
Yes, it's making sense, yes.
What's making sense to you?
Well, basically just how you talk about don't pigeonhole yourself and just how I should word it. I don't know how to word it right now.
That's all right, that you're just building a business model and you're the CEO managing the business. right? You're just gonna find people in those areas
Mhm.
that now you can market their skill sets to the government. Just to simplify things. This is also a website that we use. Most of us don't understand, or there's a disconnect to our taxes and government contracts. So where do you think your taxes go to, Mr. Johnson, when they're taking it out of your paycheck?
Um, to pay for, streets and government officials, things
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah, it just circles back around to the government, to Congress. That's where your tax dollars are going, and that's what they're fighting over with that budget. And for me, I realized at an early age, let me cut out the middleman and recycle my tax dollars through these contracts. So this database right here will show you where every contract um, or how the government is spending its money, whether it's grants or contracts. Grants are for nonprofits. Contracts are for-profit business. So you can go in this database and you can search. You can, here, went ahead and did a pre-search so that you can get a general idea what types of contracts are out here. This young lady here, she came in and this was her very first contract while she was actually going through the program. You can see the period of performance is what, 3 months? If you look at the actual award amount, you can see that it was 104,000. The government needed her to find a meeting space for 3 days. She found a hotel. The hotel's cost was $48,000. This is what she put her bid in, and she won. So that was a $60,000 profit made, what? In 3 months off of a total small business set aside. And then down here, it gives you the details. It'll tell you what? How many offers do you see the agency receives? Can you see that?
I'm looking at one.
One. And it was a total small business set aside. No competition. This is how we begin to control our destiny. And then if you look a little further, you can see the other contracts that she won. She won a contract in Hawaii, picking up uniforms off the Navy ship. And you can see what she's been doing over the years. She's still winning. I haven't spoken to her in a while, but you can see what she made in just that 1 year. This is another one of the $1 billion baby. You can see her legal name is Dawson Realty and Mortgages, but to play in this space, she had to become Dawson Management and Consulting. So she's not pigeonholing herself. So when you look at her and what she's done, this was a $1 billion contract. And you can see her first contract that she actually won was a $25 million. This is what the government has paid her. Then they paid her that amount in 2022. And as of fiscal year 2023, she's been paid $72 million. This is how we begin to create generational wealth. we can get you guys early in the game, then you're not going to have to struggle as much as we have. You can see the areas and industries that she's won these contracts in. And this was a full and open, meaning it was open to everyone. So that's why I say she was a bad sister. She was competing against 7 other companies and won. What's this amount?
$178 million.
No. Is that correct? Almost $1 billion? Like, there's too many numbers. I don't know. That's 63 million.
Oh, I thought you was talking about the bottom one.
Yeah. But this was a $1 billion contract. So our whole goal in GPI is to create a community. And again, she's going to be speaking next Friday, so you can go ahead and register. We do a lunch and learn. Is to create a community. Our goal is that you should never, ever have to leave our community. We have 2,300 people in this database. So as you're looking at opportunities, you can go into this database and let's say you're in Ohio. Let's see who's in Ohio. Now you have businesses that you can reach out to that's gone through this process and speaking the same language. Just for my curiosity, I want to go to this database and see, this is the database that SBA manages, and this is where the agency comes to look for businesses with their set-aside goal. So first thing that they do is a quick market search, and they're going to base it on your industry and keywords. And when you go here, it's going to provide the amount of businesses that are in SBA's program. So when you look here, what does that tell you? Mr. Johnson, in the entire state of Ohio.
It has 88 ventures.
Businesses, AA certified, meaning 88 minority-owned businesses in the entire state of Ohio. No competition. What military bases are you near?
We have this place called DSCC. It's like Defense Supply Center. They do a lot of, I don't know, government stuff there.
You're going to research these databases. So wherever there's a government agency, there's a federal contract. There's courthouses there, federal courthouses. So you're like Georgia, no competition.
They got Wright-Patterson Air Force Base there too, in Dayton, Ohio. Huge base.
Yeah, no competition. That's what makes sense to me. Is this making sense to you?
Yes.
So our program is broken into 3 modules. Everyone starts at the same place. Whether you have a business or not, because we want to make sure your structure is set up properly, or if you're just starting out, everyone starts the same place because no one knows what SBA is going to be looking for when you start applying into those programs. So it starts with your foundations, making sure that you have the proper agreements if you're an LLC or if you're incorporated. And the goal after the first module, and it's 6 weeks, I'm going to change that. It's an 18-week program. is that you get that business registered in SAM, and you can start looking and competing at those contracts that are specifically for small businesses. The second module, we put you into teams. It's helping you to understand the power of collaboration. You cannot do this by yourself. And then the third module is really geared around SBA's program, the 8A program, and the All Small Mentor Protege program, where you will be required to complete a business plan. But what I've done is created templates from that first business. And what I'll consistently say is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just follow the blueprint. It's been a success. The cost is, I need to update this, is now 18 weeks. The cost is $19.97 if you want to bring a second person in. That second person's cost can be $1,000 with a maximum of 2. And we need to have a minimum of 15 people in order to begin the cohort. You meet every week with a live instructor from 8 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. This cohort will start Thursday, and this will be the last cohort for the year. We also have office hours on Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. and lab sessions on Thursdays from 6 to 7 p.m. This is a way to provide you additional support in the office hours. I'm generally the one hosting those office hours, and it allows all the cohorts to come together and ask questions. Lab sessions are geared specifically towards helping you with websites and your homework assignments if you get stuck. Every week, you're going to have a homework and lab assignments that have to be completed. The program is set up as building blocks. So you have to do the homework and the lab assignments in order for it to make sense to you. We've broken, these are the deliverables that you'll complete in that first module and part of your homework assignment. And this is the team deliverables that each group will be responsible for once you get to the third module. And in the this one, we go over on how you go about responding to a RFP. With that being said, that concludes today's session. Do you have any questions, Mr. Johnson?
Can I get a list of all them websites?
I'm going to send you the recording.
Okay.
And that's what you also get in the training. You're going to be learning how to navigate and connect those websites. So what was your takeaway?
My biggest takeaway, you don't got to be in another state to get a contract. Don't pigeonhole yourself, and no competition is great. And I'm in a state where there ain't that much competition.
I like it. Miss Kimberly, since you back on, did you learn anything differently since you've completed the program, and you have any recommendations?
Well, I just continue to be motivated now that I'm almost done. And no, you always learning something, even though I went through it, years ago, just to keep, because I'm not in it every day. That thing about yesterday was huge for me. I mean, I already knew not to go to DC, but you just need to look at those places that they sleep. And I think they sleep in Ohio. I really do.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted my nephew to get on this call today.
So y'all can take over Ohio.
Yes.
Yeah, we could team up. We could use that women's
Look at him.
Look, he already know. Okay. And plus I'm a veteran. So
Oh, okay. All right. See?
Okay.
So we're ready. I just got to get him in this program. We're gonna work this out when time permits, but it's of the essence, in my opinion.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, because they're changing the game every day. And we've got to empower the younger ones so that they're in a position to fight. We can't fight with no money.
That's right. And this is my great nephew. So, you know, he's
All right,
just a
great.
youngin, a real youngin.
Yeah, favorite nephew.
Well, that's why we want you to get it early and understand it, and that you can do it, because nobody's gonna take care of you better than you. And you can consistently keep working for people, and you get to a certain level and we don't need you anymore. You have no control over your destiny. As I say, go back on my website. We can put that in the chat.
Okay.
And listen to some of the business too. Let me show you the website so that you can hear this young lady, what happened to her. Again, she'd been in the mortgage underwriting for years. And 20 years later, they laid her off in September. So that's what motivated her to get into this space. And you can go in and listen to others who have won. It's all about each one coming back, teaching each other. Okay? So you got a lot to learn from others. All right?
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I'm not sure what
Thank you,
happened to
Mr.
everyone
Johnson.
else. Huh? Dina, you were saying something?
No, I was thanking Mr. Johnson as well, and thank you, Miss Kimberly. And the website is posted in the chat, but it's real easy to remember. It is, like my shirt says, GPI. Win. GPI win.
Okay.
Government, okay?
All right. God'sPlanIwin.com. Amen.
That's right.
Oh, I didn't know that's what that meant. But okay, well, thank you. But I'll be in touch.
All right. Thank
All
you.
All right. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Make it a wonderful day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.